Hello, everyone, and happy Monday. So, today we're going to do something a little bit different for our Monday meditation. And instead, it's going to be a 3-step, less than 10 minutes long exercise in how to design a life that you absolutely love living. So, get a piece of paper, a physical piece of paper, and a pen. This is very different than the Notes app. There's something about writing down and the act of writing and translating what's in your head onto a piece of paper and that you can hold and keep with you. And remember when things aren't the life that you love. I want you to think about what brought you joy this weekend. And I'm not talking about what just made you happy or content or just kind of going through the motions, but what sparked joy? Really just everything, your heart, your body was just gravitating towards this thing and you loved it. Even if it was 30 seconds, 10 seconds. Was it a conversation with a friend, a hike, sitting down with your kids, reading a chapter of a book, a song that you heard on the radio, throwing a toy with your dog? What made you just say, wow, this is just very joyful? Maybe it was a great cup of tea or watching birds sing in the park. Something that really brought you joy. And write it down. Now I want you to think about this morning, Monday morning. What did not bring you joy? What gave you anxiety? Was there something on your to-do list that wasn't great? Did you have to get dressed up for work and you didn't like how you felt about that? Do you have a good relationship with your boss or fellow coworkers, or do you just not like your job at all, or tough commute? If you're not working, was there something about your day that felt really anxious and not aligned? How did you feel this morning? Now I want you to think about what you said about what you wrote down yesterday. Yesterday, Saturday, Sunday, what did you love? What brought you joy? And how does that feel in comparison to today? And I want you to think about the rest of your day today and the rest of your week. Is there anything on your schedule, on your to-do list, that mimics anything that brought you joy over the past weekend? Anything. Stopping to smell a flower, anything. If not, why not? The number one step for designing your life, and we're not going to talk about money and survival or anything like that yet. The number one step is to actually recognize what lights you up in contrast to what doesn't. Acknowledging it. I don't believe in putting anything under the rug. You gotta own up to it. What do you not like? And what do you like? The first step. Step 2 is there anything about your current situation or your current life that can be fixed or solved a little bit, or a compromise, or any sort of way with that current situation to bring more joy and less anxiety or stress or just, apathy? Is there anything about that? Is it a relationship with a partner or a friend or a coworker or a boss that it's possible to sit down and have a conversation about things that might not be working for you and hear them out? Is there any possibility that you can meet halfway? If it's something like you, you have a tough relationship with, something that you can't do anything about. For example, you just moved into a place and signed the lease, or you're having a tough relationship with teenage children, you're not necessarily going to be able to just say, okay, we're done with that situation. But what can be done to mitigate it a bit? Can you leave a situation? Is it possible if it's not, the job situation might not be working, or it's an abusive relationship, or there's something that can mean you could move. Maybe you don't really love the city that you're in. Is it possible to do something and it doesn't have to be permanent? Everybody that I know tries to make a permanent decision sometimes when they're unhappy, and it's okay to take baby steps. It's okay to say, I don't like this current situation right now. I don't really know what's next. What can I do to feel better, even if it's temporary? Can you go on a vacation? Can you take an entire day off and go and do something that you love, that you wrote down, that you liked to do this weekend? Is it possible? If you went hiking and loved it and it brought you so much joy, can you schedule a half a day a week to do that, to put that into your life? Is it possible to make each day, even if it's 10 minutes a day, even if it's a minute a day, to bring in more of that joy? So, step two is trying to figure out how to bring in more of the joy and getting rid of some of the things that bring you anxiety, or trying to mitigate them if you can't just undo it. And the big key here is remembering it does not have to all be done at once. Maybe you don't like the city that you live in, but for many reasons, it's not possible to move right now. That's okay. Can you go away for the weekend? Can you take a week vacation? Can you invite friends from other places into your world? Can you block off a half hour every single day to do something that you love about where you live? Because no matter what situation you're in, unless it's an abusive and you're physically going to be harmed, most situations have at least one shining light of joy. Laughter, a song that you love, something that just always makes you want to dance, something that you can bring into your life to keep remembering that joy, bringing in more of that. We all have heard of, manifestors, great manifestors who are like, tap into that vibrational energy. But it's true. If you walk down the street and you are joyful and you're smiling and you have this glow about you, then more people are going to react to that in a positive way. They're going to smile back, even grumpy grumps. I used to attempt this in Boston, where people were quite grumpy and not necessarily friendly. And I would say, hello, good morning. Maybe 1 out of 10 would do that back, but it was 0 out of 10 if I didn't do that. What can you do to just embody that thing? And if things are starting to feel off with your life, start looking at the data. Let's track it. Well, you got a 24-hour day. How many hours in that day are spent doing something that does not bring you joy? And how many hours of that day are spent bringing you joy? You are going to want to do everything in your power to have more of the joy. Part three, really taking steps forward to live the life that you are called to do. Now, I know that there are a lot of people out there who are like, just quit your job, leave your city, end your relationship. And the reality is, for most people, that's not really possible. or at least not overnight. So again, these small steps. But what can you do? And is there any possible way that you could make a living out of doing what you love? Do you love working out? Do you think that there's a world in which you could get a personal training certification and teach people how to heal their bodies and feel better every day? What if you had, hiking excursions? Is it possible to get paid for that? Is it possible that that could be something that's your living? And if it's not, is it something that is supplementary income or something that is just something you really look forward to? If you don't require an income, would that be something that you could do? What about volunteering or charity work? I know somebody who absolutely loves rescuing animals, but for many reasons, that can't right now be their full time job. So she does it on the weekends. She does it when she can. And it brings her great joy. It's sad and hard, but also brings her a purpose and joy. She's happy when she can make a difference. What is it for you that you could do that might actually become what your life is? And Maddie posted this beautiful Instagram post once about the donuts at the farmer's market. And I know some of you remember this. And this, think about somebody at a farmer's market and they're sitting there and maybe they're selling something, whatever it is. It's candles, they've got some homemade dog treats, they're selling, donuts. And there might be people who walk by and say, oh man, this person used to have a job at a Fortune 100 and what are they doing with their selling donuts now at the farmer's market? What? How sad is that? What if that's what brings that person so much joy and they love it and their donuts are amazing and everybody who eats the donut is happy and that brings the person so much happiness knowing that they're spreading the word with happiness. They're getting their donuts and maybe they're making some money out of it. But maybe someday that becomes a business. Maybe 100 people start buying it every Saturday that they're at the farmer's market, and maybe now they have an online store and 1,000 people from all over the place are buying it. You can start small and start something, and it can become and it can grow into something bigger. And it doesn't have to either. I remember I've been talking, to so many people, and when used to work with executives, and at these big companies, and they would feel so trapped with the life, and they were road warriors. They were always, living out of a suitcase and not having any time to call their kids, and never having time to do anything for themselves. In fact, it felt like even an obligation if they were like, "Oh, I have to get my hair cut." It's like I have to do this, but it was all related to work. And to step back and say, can you carve out 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, ideally more than that, to do something that has nothing to do with anybody else, but is more about what makes you happy? Can you do that? If you can't do that, then I would argue that you don't have freedom in your life and you'll never be truly healthy. Perfect biomarkers, which by the way, very, very few people have perfect biomarkers, but you could, in theory, have physical health. But eventually, if you don't have joy and happiness in your life, it will catch up to you and something's going to happen. Even if it's just apathy, it's going to age you. It's going to make you feel like there's no reason, to really be on this planet. And if you go through this 3-step process, number one, really tap into what brings you happiness and joy and thinking about what doesn't. Small steps every single day to try to incorporate more of that joy. And then working to find a way to make that joy your life. You think about like a pie chart. And if the sliver of joy for your pie chart right now is like 5%, and the rest of it is anxiety, this is not sustainable. it's also probably usually not sustainable to have it be reversed, where 5% of your life is anxiety and 95% is joy. That's not really how it goes. But you'd like to have the majority of your pie chart to be joy. If it's 51%, we're working on that. This Monday, you have the opportunity to write down what makes you happy in small ways and to realize it doesn't have to be, you don't have to change your life overnight. I really believe in small steps. We've talked about this even with Rev and our members, and a lot of people get really overwhelmed at because we do, full health recommendations, and it can be like, whoa, all these things that need to change. You don't have to change all of them overnight. You can wake up every single morning and do one thing. That's okay. One thing that makes you happy and brings you joy, and the rest will follow. So let me know in the comments what really made you excited this weekend, what brought you joy, and what are you going to do about it to bring more of that into your life?